Salutations from all points. Do with that will should be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love underwear. Just getting a piece ready here so I can show the way the Toolarmy sits on the fruit of life. Hi, Morty. What are you doing, Key? Come here. Come on and help me draw. So, it took me a minute to find a set of circles I already had drawn that I didn't overdo it, so you guys can still hopefully see what I'm talking about. Also big enough to hold the fruit, because it tends to get outside the boundaries of most pieces of paper unless you draw smaller circles. But as I maybe said before, I more than not use CDs to draw circles as opposed to a compass because my hands, I just couldn't get a good enough compass that wouldn't like bend under my pressure. Like it caused too many fluxes in the pattern that I just had to stick with something that was bound to a certain shape. And the scale ended up revealing some pretty cool things. But anyway, nice. But just gonna get this outside last circle of the fruit lit up here with this yellow, so everybody knows what I'm talking about when I start babbling on about shit. But like Metatron's cube that sits, the fruit of life is an informational system. It holds the Metatron's cube. You leaving, Morty? It holds the which Metatron's cube holds the platonic solids, and each of them has a system or governs a certain set of rules or whatever. That's not important right now. Well, what's important is that the Toolarmy star, this is when I was like, how old were we? I just graduated high school. I mean, I was 18, 19, maybe 20. And Toolarmy has only been out for a little while, and me and my closest friends were just constantly drawing circles for Flower of Life. I had the workshops from Drumvelo and all that, but I also had the Book of the Law from Crawley. I had this online connection to Samuel and Wower, not himself, but somebody who was really promoting his work and translating his Spanish books into English so I could read them in conjunction with Crowley, which has really helped get me to the point of understanding this, like the duality of things. But I don't know. That was a guy I had actually met in Toolarmy when the website first came up. I got locked out of that shit somehow. Like my whole lack of ever having a computer hasn't done me well in signing up for online events and whatever, that kind of shit. But I used to peruse Toolarmy at my buddy Snake's house all the time, and just write and read and read and write. And I spent a lot of time after I could make posts of my own, like creating these threads where I was trying to describe how to draw the Toolarmy pattern. But because it was just me and my friends drawing it, We ended up having to create like this shorthand to talk about certain images because there weren't names for them. So we would come up with terms like the Toolarmy that is inside, or one that's outside, or in and out. And it would be confusing to anyone reading it because those terms were relative to the point of the Toolarmy star, which, where the fuck is one of my stars? Which is the way this tip, man, it's so dark in here. The way this tip up here would be oriented to any given picture. So if it was if the tip was pointing in the center of a circle, it was an inside. Now I can't even remember the shit because it was so not reliable. Because once you started going to build patterns, inside Toolarmy stars became outside Toolarmy stars, much like everything does on the pattern. But I should note it was my good friend Reginald, who had been on dialysis for a while, so he was stuck at his house. So much like the tree that we were adding circles to, and not only adding the circles, we were doing concentric patterns. So you would start with one circle, and that's, this pattern, but then you go up 2 petals, draw a circle around that, make a pattern. Then you go up 3, make a circle around that, make a pattern. And then you go up 4, and that's what we drew that one big tree of life image I was talking about before, to represent the 4 worlds in multiple forms, because the tree itself had grown so much that there were at least 4 worlds that could be pulled out of the main trunk of the tree, I guess you could call it. But I may have a picture. There's only one left, I believe, in my presence that has it. I left it with my buddy to keep safe for me, and I moved around a lot. He ended up dying. I don't know. Shit just got fucked up. People move. But let me see. Where is this camera? Okay. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. You know what I can do is just move stuff to the fucking camera. That'd be great. Oh, there's Fuzz right there. Fuzz again. Oh, mercy. The pages are turning on me. They must want me to show you something else, but I just want to show you this quick. Almost was going to read some excerpts from this, but that was another version of me. He fell asleep. Okay, this is the tree that I'm talking about. It has paths that go out, that bloom into fruits. But the concentric patterns, if you can see them, purple is seemingly the biggest, but I think there is a yellow pattern in there. I can't be sure. It's all kind of faded. But at this point, never mind. That's just a whole other thing. Just as an example of how the pattern overlaps itself, and one thing pulls into another. But for us now, we're working on just the fruit. So there is a car. They are cleaning the streets outside my house. Of course they would do. Hell. Okay. So, again, I'm pulling out these fruit patterns to show you how the Toolarmy sits on it. Oh yeah, Reggie. stuck on dialysis, drawing the big pattern. He ended up drawing on his wall and shit, just huge patterns. It was really cool. Jeremy Zook did the same thing while he was bound to his place for a while. So, yeah, we all got, like, once we drew that big pattern with the concentric circles, we said to ourselves, you know, like, this is the new scale. Like, if we make anything, it's got to be this big, because anybody can do this. But you throw the four worlds on top of each other and show like these overlapping patterns, because it just reveals the most unique things that you wouldn't think of, even though it's right in front of you. It's like how in Alex Gray's work, where things are repeated over and over and over and over again, that you really start to see the power that the one image, like a million hands in front of you, really shows the power of like what one hand can do. And then there's just like thousands of them, and then they're all holding, you know, tools, weapons, all this shit. It's like symbols, and like how they have eyes in them. Like these are. This is a form of like awareness. Whatever. I mean, most people are aware of like the third eye kind of shit, and that's because it's related to chakra, and it represents a certain like level of awareness that most humans on the path get to. But yes, the reason why I'm even showing you guys this is because I think the Toolarmy is one of the most unique symbols that I've ever used to create just different emblems for things, sigils, the Toolarmy symbol in I guess along with a perfect circle runes, which is how I was able to come up, like that's what this image is. Okay, these are Toolarmy lines. I just connected the tips together because usually they're open. But and of course I colored it in, so it just looks bonkers. But the once I show you how to put it in the fruit, you'll understand how it sits within the cube, and you can begin to like, okay, it goes down this way, or in this cube I can fit it there. And then you work down to, you get to the Vasica Pisces, which is what this is. Once you understand how to draw the Toolarmy within a Vasica Pisces, you can draw Toolarmy stars of any number. That was kind of what I realized the Flower of Life helped us see, was how it sat in the Vasica Pisces, and that, oh, well, all stars are circles overlapping. I mean, they bend over different. You're going to get this pattern for the 9, which is similar but very different to like the 6. It's closer to the 5, but okay, I'm gonna do a whole set of these. I used to have full sets from 2, which I actually made the ladder, and I believe I was telling somebody about the Toolarmy wrench, applying a few like I'll show you guys then, but you can make some pretty cool fucking images once you start applying these along a path and then breaking them off. Here, I have an example I can show you. Well, this is the 6. So here's a difference of a 9 colored in, okay, and of a 6. Now in this, it's kind of easier to see almost. The Toolarmy lines are very bold, but they're so overlapping and that the colors are fucking goofball. I was just sort of playing around with colors next to each other, just kind of letting it guide me. But what I'm trying to pull out of that is the unique shapes that usually when you work with the flower of life, okay, see, you can always, you're seeing you're getting balance, but you're getting mirrored images of very unique shapes. I mean, these are fractals of the platonic solids, and they go out and they're making all these unique forms, and depending how far you go out and how, if you like just as you could overlap the petals for the circles, you can also overlap the Toolarmy and have concentric straight line pattern, male patterns, which is actually what that is above me. That is several Toolarmy patterns overlapping. Okay. You can see the big kind of blackish gold ones. There's a green. The smallest are the purple, and they make the actual pattern the equivalent of a male flower of life pattern. They create the same geometries the circles do, but in such a unique way. Now, I know if you apply this same method to Metatron's cube, you will get patterns, okay? You will get a masculine pattern that overlays reality. And I would bet that's what reality is. This pattern here is perhaps not reality as it is, but what we are making now. Because as I was saying before, the Toolarmy symbol is a 7-pointed star opened up. That's why it's open. But if you count the tips, there's 7 of them. There's a anagram from The Holy Mountain, which is a very far out fucking movie. I suggest it to anybody. I overlapped it with like Enema or Lateralis once and had some pretty cool results, but you know, that's Tool and media. The monolith, which I'm going to get into big shit about talking about how to control the monolith. Like, but anyway, Toolarmy symbol. So, with the Toolarmy symbol, you can make all sorts of symbols to help, you know, whatever you're into. That just happens to be my name. Well, one of my names, parts of my names. It's hard to explain. The name given, taken. You know, I used to have lights that worked, but I must have threw them away right before this video started. Because now, nothing wants to work. Oh, no. That's how you break it, boys and girls. Now we live in darkness. Alright. I'm sorry, this is what happens when I do shit on the fly. I break my world to pieces. kind of why I'm still constantly doing stuff as opposed to being any kind of member of society doing anything of worth. We'll just keep going. I don't care. I was gonna stop it. I don't care. It's not like anybody's watching this now. FYI, these are rough cuts that I'm going to get a computer for, and we're going to edit. I just need to keep recording stuff. Fuck. Plus, I think I have like Lyme's disease or something. I've been just really fucking shitty sick. And I worry if I lose my mind, then or whatever, get sick, and that'll be too late. So we're gonna get some shit out while we can. So, hold on. I'll illuminate these all with yellow more. It's fucking shit. Yeah, it'll look different. That was stupid. I changed the whole color system. See, this is another thing I do. I affect one color I have on a piece of paper, and then I realize, oh no, now I have to do it to every single thing because I'm all about having, you know, it being consistent around the board. Oh, that's exhausting. I'm sorry, guys. But this gives us some time to think, chit chat, maybe, about some things. For instance, if we're going to sit here and talk about the fruit, let's talk about the fruit. I've always used it in most of my work just because it helps me. I used it most in the past to help me scale the tree, because where the scale of the fruit is a certain size above the seed, and therefore with that knowledge you can discern where to draw the tree of life actually on the pattern, because you can draw it anywhere. But what's the true scale? How far are the paths in between each sephira on the flower of life, like an ideal form? That this tree that I was talking about in another video has each individual sephira, and then it has them grown to the size of a seed. But the point is right there. So the point of that one's right there. So you got a long way from these two. But because these seeds touch, because where these seeds touch, I feel like that either could be where you put the letter of the pathway in these certain areas where the Sephiroth reach and touch, or we would have it go out one more scale and have that space in between there to represent a pen. But as I said, the Sephiroth is technically this inner circle. This has been grown, this seed is here containing the tree, but combining all the seeds in this clumped fashion I call branches or paths, because this is this path through the rock. As you extend up, and when you get to the fruit, that fruit is now the new Sephiroth. And within that fruit, you can draw platonic solids from Metatron's cube, either alone or in combination, or any other informational system you find within the fruit of life pattern. Um, Informational systems are geometric, sacred geometry, systems that are bound to nature that will lead you and reveal more information the more you work with them. This image of the Toolarmy, when I was fucking, 20 or whatever, 25, and was going through the Flower of Life um, workshops, as I was completing or going through informational systems tied to the fruit, we discovered this. So it was basically being shown that this is an informational system. Okay? What I've been talking about in this video up to now is some things you can, like things I have thought of already to use. But there's so much more. I mean, I need people to apply this pattern to design in the physical world, as in computers, networking systems, electrical systems, new electrical systems that are going to be built on applying little energy to a system that accumulates. Like, imagine it, like you push certain things, like the old time cranky things where you crank up the electricity and then you got electricity. Well, we make these things like progressively automated. So like, yes, our energy pushes the first mechanism, but the way we have it built with all these different systems, they build until the point where you no longer have to apply any energy. You in fact need to build battery factories, which is the other thing I've been I got like 15 fucking books in the works right now. But like one of the things that keep coming up is how we need to rebuild our infrastructure for energy. We're at the point now. Okay, I know that people hate using gas and all this stuff, but what you need to remember is that before that, we were slaying whales and gutting them of their fat. This oil and all this shit is the next stage in that. Like, we bled the animals just dry to get energy. And now we're bleeding the earth to get more energy. But this is like Kickstarter. This is what I mean. Like, this energy leads to this energy, and it makes us able to do this. And we're still seeing ourselves as like this thing separate from nature, and that machines are even somehow more separate from us. But this is a process. Spirit uplifts matter. It doesn't matter what the matter is. It's all spirit. Okay, that's like in the Matrix. There's like the blue-green dichotomy, but there's also the gold that works with both of them, which goes back to my Hilden, winged race, vampire, human, legacy of Cain obsession shit. You just need to understand that we are in a new beginning. Like, this apocalypse is the start of a new era that's centered around rational revolution. So madness must be exposed in all its forms. That's what's going on the streets. It's the pull, the way the energy pushes. So the machine needs this energy to kickstart this energy, because these people freaking out, doing all this shit, their energy is filling the batteries of those that were too tired to care about certain things over time. And these people are making them angry, and they can either be holy warriors that are like gonna take the L, like, yeah, we're gonna fight the world and then be annihilated because we want change that bad. Here's the deal: those who live for death will get it. You don't get to play every game you want, especially if the game you play while you're here is death. War. If you come to this reality to war, um, buddy, I don't know what to fucking tell you other than stay the fuck away from me. Oh, and it was good knowing you. Sort of. But okay. Now of course I can't find my. Oh yeah. The sky is full of people. You have no idea. It's like somebody made a mess in here. I don't know what happened. Somebody made a mess. Beautiful. Alright, so dig this. You can't see. So, again, Toolarmy that sits in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, the fruit. Yeah, I might have an ugly fruit that you can look at. Yeah, hold on. I got an ugly fruit. Metatron on it. I was messing with colors and I didn't really like how they turned out, but I can always go over top of it later. So that's no biggie. But what you got here is the fruit of life with Metatron's cube. Okay? Those lines contain the platonic solids, yada yada yada. Instead of drawing them, instead of connecting, you draw this by connecting the centers of all the circles. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Instead of doing that, my friend Reggie, while on dialysis, or I think he was in his room thinking about some girl, upside down, leaning over his bed, looking at his wall of just, the pattern just huge in front of him. And he saw the cube, like how it sits in the cube. So you go, you know what? These are faded so that you guys can't even see that. What are the odds of that? Okay. That's amazing. They go from this circle, center, which is the tip, of the fruit, to, fuck me, man. I can't even hardly see it. Yes, to this one in the middle. So these two, here's an easy way for me to tell you. If you have a cube, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to mark halfway down from the Vesica Pisces. Yeah, here we go, boys and girls. This is a little much, but I promise once you see it, you won't unsee it. See these points? Those are halfway in these petals. This point on the Toolarmy is a quarter of the way down. This lines up with the bottom of the circle. So there's a line that goes through these Vesica Pisces. That's where you end. That's where the Toolarmy symbol ends. So you connect them. That's the center, or the tip. Okay. Now in this, what you're looking at is me selecting only the insides of certain circles and drawing Toolarmy patterns. And as you can see, when their tips combine and overlap, they form unicursal hexagrams that form the male equivalent of Vesica Pisces in the pattern. This is the Lucifer pattern. It's a Luciferian pattern on top of an original okay, but scratch that, reverse it. If we're in a Luciferian experiment where we live in an existence like this pattern centers and corrects the bind, because the scale and size change. Maybe not. I think it might actually go both ways. I've never been able to... Okay, here, this will help you see. Never been able to like explain this to people other than like me talking to myself about it. So when I try to say this shit out loud, it keeps sounding goofy, and I apologize for that. That's why I keep stumbling around, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Shit, you can't hardly see. You can't hardly see this, but this is what I was talking about earlier. Okay, there's a lot going on here, but as you can see, the yellow is the scale of the fruit. Now above that, and within it, as you can see, the red lines there, is a tree that I have set up to the scale of the fruit. Okay, but that is the body that is within the Toolarmy Merkaba that I had built. That's what these green lines are. Okay, now then from that red tree and this red little, the 3 circles in there, and the purple fruit with, you know, yellow centers, you have the tree Sephiroth themselves, that much like they talk about chakras of the body, the true Sephiroth of the tree kind of are shown like outside the cat's body, especially the crown and the higher forms of the tree. The body rests, head rests in doth, or sometimes the throat is said to rest in doth. So this is the body of life in geometric form. It's showing your energy as a human being that is manyfold. I wanted to redo this bottom one, but I just... Anyway, you can see that the duality above the abyss is like the path is in between the two, because on either side you sway. I mean, anybody knows that reaching the tip of one tree really only leads to a new understanding, because as I was saying before, you are very rarely on the true path. So when you reach Kether, say you feel like you made it, you're actually also within, what would it be, Hokmah, of Urbina, of Hood, So there's just these layers of traveling on the tree that is the reason why, like, Merkaba meditation, like breathing, like, is so important, because you are trying to create a physical body that can withstand um, these various states that seem the same but are confusing. But once you understand how emotions and everything else have patterns to them, like are shapes, then you can make shapes to enter into certain emotional states. I'm saying things very fucking woo-wooey, but there is practical application to the tree of life, to working out the flower, and a lot of it comes through drawing, because the reason the Kali Yuga is dangerous to us to endure is because of forgetfulness, on top of like drug abuse and all that jazz. But we forget what we remember. That's the main takeaway from the book I've been writing. I mean, the book that survived the burnings. I'm writing lots of books. But the oldest one, my my diary of an invisible drug fiend. It's all about when you can't remember all you've forgotten. How can you be sure of who you really are? But funny enough, it started out as a talk on the Tree of Life, but I couldn't stop writing about any given Sephiroth, so I just kept writing about Kether forever, and that, like, I realized I could just keep writing. That all Sephiroth and all paths were contained within one another, and that the real reason for writing the books was to make money. And it was around that time that I made this whole big vow against making money, like, and to not drive, and to all this weird shit. I mean, and for years. Okay, second video. We're about to get another video. If you have any questions about this stuff, please ask so that I know what to ramble about. I just got so much shit going on, it's just flying through my head like fucking a tempest. So, peace out.